Get rid of 1,000, add 1,000.
Why there needs to be another new building in addition to that replacement.
Okay.
Well, as soon as you go out and you tell the folks that you want to shut down Harlan, Mainville, I can tell you right now, the response, the pushback's gonna be, I mean,
I think what Randy's saying, they will go to Butlerville till it falls down.
yeah.
But
Around the
there's no
kids.
room- I mean,
Back.
Well, let me ask this question. We were talking about, you build a building for 1,000 kids, or whatever it might be. And if we build a building for 1,000 kids and you put 1,000 kids in it, we've now went from the capabilities of, I think we're 4,400 now, so that would take us to 5,400. And I think back to Mike's point, instead of looking at this and going, okay, over the next 10 years, we're going to be at 3,500 or 3,000, or I'm sorry, was it 7,500? 7,500. Looking at it from a progressive situation, because the simple reason is if you go out and I don't know what these buildings are going to cost. I think the one I've seen to rebuild a building just like this one, it was $45 million.
For the high school.
For the high school.
The rebuild costs were today's dollars.
Right.
Using what OFCC would suggest for cost per square foot.
Right, well, that's what we would go out for a bond. We would say, okay, community, this is what we need for a bond. I don't know that we could sell it. I'm just being honest. I don't know that we can sell it. All of these things, don't get me wrong, what you guys are doing, they're great ideas, but we've really got to sit down and look at it to see not what we want, because I can, look at it. It's what can we sell to the public, because that's the ultimate wallet that we're operating out of.
Because after one issue, we'll have to come back for operating.
Agreed. But the big problem is gonna be with any of your elementaries, in 10 years, you will have spent more than what it will cost to replace that building for new.
I understand that, but it's the old theory. It's the old theory when they come into the manufacturing plant and say, Randy, if you let me come in here and you put these new light bulbs in here, I can save you $58,000. I just ran through this. I can save you $58,000 and this and that and the other thing, and over a period of 5 years, you're going to pay these back and this, that, and the other thing. And I said to the guy, it's a wonderful idea. Let me pay you over time for over 5 years. And then it's a net gain zero. Oh, no, I can't do that. Well, wait a minute. I mean, I'm going to save the money. So if you guarantee me I'm going to save the money, let me pay you over the 5 years. That's what these folks are going to look at. They're going to look at this and go, okay, I know this is better for me down the road, but to quote, everybody looks at what's going to happen right now. What can I afford right now? And I don't know that we can.
But that's not what that's not what the survey said.
No, I
That's not
agree.
what the community is saying.
You're exactly, no, you guys haven't done anything wrong. Yeah,
When
no,
you-
you guys haven't done anything wrong. You guys have taken the information in front of you and you've put out a great plan.
You guys have done great.
Yes,
Yeah.
oh, yes.
But what he's saying is our community will sit there and say, yes, we want this, we want this, we want this. But now you're getting in a wallet, and I don't want paid for
Yeah,
it.
and that's what we have to weigh. We have to weigh what that is, because we're not sure what that is at this point.
And I think until we decide what to do with Mark, we can't even talk to people about a new building, because we have an empty building, and that is just a thorn and a sore on their sides.
I heard somebody say this, I heard a comment, an individual walking out, I don't know who it was, because I don't know the individual. And they said, well, we not only have Morrow Elementary empty, now Butlerville and Mayville is going to be empty, and I'm like, oh, that is not the takeaway I wanted you to walk out of here with.
No, I mean, it's true though. I mean,
it is true.
It's
It
a
is
true
true.
statement. I mean, the reality is neither of those pieces of property are appropriate for
Today.
new school buildings for today.
You're right.
So the
Yeah.
question
You're
is,
right.
yeah, Butler, you know what, Butlerville could be a great building. Somebody absolutely could use that building for something. It just can't be a school building anymore.
So if I was the person who said, myself personally, I am in the camp, and I'm not saying that being hypothetical, since we're.
Right.
Just come clean. Just come clean.
If I am the person that is in favor of community elementary schools, and I am the person that is in favor of one high school instead of two, which one of these options is the most palatable to me?
Option 2A.
It'll help me dig in a little
Which is
bit.
3 new pre-K through 2, if I recall. 3 new pre-K through 2. One still staying at
could be totally reading this wrong, but when I was sitting at every community meeting and tonight with the teachers and the staff, when we're talking about keeping community elementary schools, I see heads nod, and when I hear her talk about one high school and not splitting our community, however you wanna split it, I see heads nodding, and so as I'm trying to process, it's like,
Right,
okay, if
sure.
I'm in the camp of, I'd like to keep the 3 community elementaries at 600 to 800 each, at each site, and I don't want to have the split in the division in the high school, 7 through
Correct.
12, or
Yep.
9 through 12,
Yep.
then the option for me, myself personally, to dig into a little bit more is
Would be
2A.
I believe.
Or if it's-
So
or if
the
I
big
talk to
things-
people.
So the big things to think about with that is you need a site for the new high school, because it's gonna continue to grow and grow and grow, and you do not have a site big enough for a single high
High
school
school
right now.
of that size, of 20,
Of 2,100.
and then that's,
That's 44 acres wouldn't work.
No, no.
I don't know.
The maximum that you're gonna get on the 44-acre site is the same exact high school that you have sitting here. This is a 50-acre site. That's smaller.
Okay,
So even a 1,500 is gonna be tight.
all right.
50 acres without the junior high piece?
Yes,
Junior high is
50
additional.
acres is what the high school
Just the high school,
occupies,
okay.
yes.
And there's already folks interested in more athletic fields.
Right, and
Oh,
the complaint
okay.
right
Right,
now,
yeah,
right,
yeah,
the complaint
exactly
right now
right.
is that this site isn't big enough.
Sure.
Correct.
So,
And that's what we have to look at.
But it would be if it became a
What we-
junior high.
you know.
Which is what would happen under the scenario I
Yes,
suggested.
yes.
If you did 3 community elementary schools,
Yes,
and you were to make a new high school site, this would be a 15 to 1,700 middle school site with athletic facilities, right?
yes, it would get close, it would probably be 1,800. And once you're into phase 2, it would be an 1,800 student middle school. So then the question is, looking past that, what happens when you max this out? And so that's the thing that you just have to keep, you can't not think about what that next phase looks like. So you're sitting with an 1,800 student building, and now you need another middle school. What do you do with this?
And we're talking about phase 2 is 10 to 15 years out.
Phase 2 takes you through
227.
2030, well, phase 2
27
opens,
through-
opens in 2027.
27, I think it's
So
27.
you're looking at
That's-
10, 11
We're
years out.
building phase 2 for 2030. Is what we are building it for.
Well, and the dilemma that we're gonna run into, I mean, and every school district has its own makeup. And what we've got to figure out is what we feel is the best plan. Not necessarily that the 5 of us know the best plan, but what we feel is the best plan and what we can communicate to the public to support. With that said, you're 100% correct. You gotta look down the road and where you're gonna be, you know, short-term goals, long-term goals, you know, build in such a way so you know that you can, you know. But the average individual says, Johnny's in 9th grade, he's only got 3 more years and he's out and, you know, I got, and so we've gotta figure out how we're going
Right.
to make that case.
Well, right, I mean, there's a whole lot of education and a whole lot of community engagement that is gonna need to happen with any of these. So
Yes.
that we can answer the questions that you're
The
asking
key,
us.
the key, what you just said is community involvement.
Absolutely.
With this community.
But I also
Yeah.
think
Community's
tied
very
to that,
fickle.
but tied to that has to be a dollar amount. Like, I
Yes.
look
Oh,
at
yeah,
these
we
3
gotta have a
options.
dollar.
I think option 1, 2A, and 2B are the only ones for my consideration now, because I don't like the 2 high schools. So when I look at these, the end result is the same. We have enough space, we have new buildings. So what does each of these cost us as a district? What do we have to ask for as far as?
We are still working on compiling those numbers. I can tell you option 1 is the least expensive,
Okay.
because it holds off doing things. It's gonna be the most painful, because you're squeezing kids into this building for 10 years, and you are maxing it out. So option 1 squeezes 1,800 high school students in this building on a site that already is totally congested. So it's not gonna be a fun 10 years.
Okay.
It is the cheapest, but it's gonna be very painful.
But Tony and I just had this conversation Saturday. We had a listening session Saturday. We were talking, and we were talking about, you know, what are we gonna do? And so, we're here now just having this conversation. And The average parent of the average child in our school system doesn't know how many kids are in their class. They really, you know, they're not that engaged. Now, there's a lot of them that are, and there's some of them that are totally disengaged and have no idea. And we said, you know, how do we get that average parent who's getting up every morning, going to make a living and coming home and, you know, hey Susie, you got your homework done? Yes, okay. And, you know, and that's the gist of everything. How do we, you know, and that's what we have to do. That's our problem is how do we educate those individuals in saying, you know, yeah, Susie's getting her homework done. However, you know, if we did this, it gives Susie these opportunities.
Right.
Now, she may not utilize them, or she may not whatever, but that's irrelevant. It's, you know, and we can go out with a story that we can say, this is where we are, and this is what's happening, and this is our remedy to fix it, and this is how it benefits you at in your home. You know, if you've got a kindergartner in the school system right now, you're thinking 10, 12 years down the road. If you've got a high schooler, you're going, you know,
Right.
as soon as Johnny graduates from high school and he moves out, I'm selling our house and we're gonna buy something smaller or whatever, so he can't go back in. But we've got to be able to sell that. You know what I mean? And that's why.
Right.
And something I don't see here that I know we've talked about before is grade level specific buildings. What if, I mean, we know now from third grade on, they're all together, and I thought we were looking at having them all together as we grew. So this, to me, changes that whole dynamic.
Well, I think,
If we're gonna build a
I think
building,
based off of the survey feedback, that they created options that were grade level buildings. I mean, there was
feedback that said that these.
feedback that
No,
they wanted.
yeah,
they were
we heard pretty loud and clear that they want to minimize transitions. Grade level buildings will,
that's from a parent's, but when I talk to people that are in education that say it's best for the kids, sometimes we have to.
but I guess I would be devil's advocate. I would not want my child to be in a building for 1 or 2 years where they are not known. They aren't given enough time.
Districts around the state have gone to that because there was academic benefit to that, so
What are the academic benefits?
There's, on the curriculum side, the planning and professional development for staff, there are pluses to that. Because you have all the grade level staff in one building.
In one building, and
It
they can
it
feed
makes
off
it
of one another.
easy to plan and to implement and to ensure
Which I would
implementation of the
get
curriculum.
that as opposed to having a building that just had 2 classes.
Well, I was gonna,
But your buildings inherently are pretty big to begin
and you have
with.
teachers in
so-
Mainville that are not, you know, they're on
Talking
different,
with
yeah.
people,
And
right.
we have our kindergarten together now, they're transitioning from preschool to kindergarten in the same building, and we're only in November, and I'm hearing from teachers and parents how awesome that's been. Because the teachers are in the building, they're transitioning with those kids, they're there to support the teacher, especially with our special needs kids,
Okay.
into the next year.
So that's arguing for more than 1 grade level in the building. because
Right, I'm not saying one
Okay, so-
grade
all
one
right.
and one building grade two,
Okay.
I'm saying in all the buildings, like all of our maybe K through 3 in one building. And then 4 and 5 and 6 in another building.
so
I don't
what
know
it
how-
does, it eliminates
I'm in
the-
Bingville and we're
the
all.
community, the small community elementary school, because the
Right.
only way to do that.
Right.
I was gonna ask Gino, how does, the 2 options were, how does it impact transportation? If you were to have 2 high schools, those 2 high schools would probably start at the same time, which means you gotta transport all of those students to 2 separate high schools on the same run schedule.
Correct.
True or false? True?
True. Yeah, well, that's what we were looking at.
We talked about that. We also, didn't we talk about that they would be staggered a little bit? I can't remember. I don't remember.
Well,
We had
to stagger-
this-
if you're looking at 2 high schools, you're
Yeah,
looking
high
at
school
that
is
7-12 option, you're gonna transport 6th grade levels to a building.
At the same time.
At the same time.
It's basically you're dividing your
Right.
tier in
I
half.
just wondered if it would cause you, because if you're doing multiple run, like we do now, we have 3 or 4 different buildings on different tiers.
Right.
You can use the same buses. Now granted, it wears your buses out quicker. But if you had 2 high schools that were 7 through 12 and were all functioning on the same schedule, you'd only have 1 run to get grades 7 through 12 to 2 sites at the same time. What I'm asking is, would that cause a transportation would it be more difficult or require more buses, in order to make that one larger run?
Require more buses.
And you probably are gonna stagger the start times, aren't you, Gene? Because you're gonna probably look at adding a tier into the system. If you look at the alignment, instead of 3 tiers, you may be on a 4-tier circumstance.
Well, also from an athletic standpoint, you gotta be pretty much on the same.
Yeah, they gotta be pretty close.
You gotta be really close,
Yeah.
and I don't think that you can get it that close with one set of buses.
But you're gonna have attendance zones
Right.
if you have 2 high
Yeah.
schools. So you're not running your bus fleet, you're gonna have, going to one high school, a set of buses.
Correct.
And going to another high school, a set of buses. You're not gonna have, like we do now, where you have the buses running the whole district all at the same time.
Go to one location.
That's
You're
good.
you're gonna be in a smaller geographical
Which is
area
also
that you're,
My other comment of trying to consolidate and have like 2 grade level building is the fact that you're a 100 square mile district, which really pushes for having multiple buildings across, across your
Right.
grades.
And
If you were a 30 square mile school district like a Mason, where everybody's kind of going within the same vicinity, then it's a little different than when you're trying to reach as
But
far
right
as you
now
can.
at Salem, we have all kindergarten, all preschool, all third.
We do, and I think that people, I'm not sure that from what I've heard, that people really enjoy.
You know what they don't enjoy? They don't enjoy having a kindergartner this year at Salem, and then first grade, they're going somewhere else, and then they're coming back in third.
Oh, yeah.
But if
yeah.
it's preschool to second, or preschool to third,
Right.
I don't see a problem with that grade level.
And
Which is what our options are.
if you were to do, and
Our
just,
options
But
are
you're having
PK
them
to 2.
but in 3 different buildings. I'm saying grade level specific, 1 elementary, K to 2, K to 3.
They would gigantic.
What you're
Well,
saying,
right now it'd be
you're saying K,
1,500
so let's just say Salem,
preschool
preschool through
K
second grade, so
versus-
every child
in the whole district.
would go to that
One site.
So then third grade,
It's
they
gotta be
would go to
central.
another
Yeah,
building,
building.
some other building.
Yep, however, huh?
It would be a 2,400 student elementary in phase 2.
For K3,
For K2.
I mean K2,
Yeah,
pre-K two.
I'm pretty sure, I'm pretty sure that the one option is 3,800 PK through 2s.
but look at what we're doing now. We're with 3 elementaries, we could have an elementary, a big elementary, maybe like the site of the intermediate school. Intermediate, for the, whatever that would be, 3, 4, 5. You're looking at 6, 7, 8 at the junior high anyway, and then a high school. So to me, that's less buildings, and you're holding more kids in those buildings.
Right, I guess my only issue is that it's not what we heard from the community.
they wanted 600 to 800 student.
That's right, yeah.
And that's the heartburn, is
Yeah.
that
It's hard, but if you can
say
say
that school district to have,
Right. Well, because they go to third grade, now it's that building.
They're all doing it from
K-
third to
K-
high school.
Well, right, but K through 2, I live in Morrow, and my, little Johnny's right up the street, and I can walk him up
But
and
now
walk him back.
kindergarten, they're all going the
And
same.
then he goes to Mainville, and I feel like, I used to say about Butlerville, they would say,
Right,
I'm
but
not
look
driving
at-
all the way out there, it's only 6 miles.
But look
I'm not
at
driving all the way
that.
out there,
That's what we heard, and now it's fine, because they're all at Salem.
Yeah,
And
that's
they-
true.
the problem I hear with parents now, is those kindergartens now splitting up and going to Butlerville and Mainville. They would love for them to stay.
Well, we
at
have our
Salem.
work cut
So I
out for us.
think it's something that academically, our responsibility is to do what's best for our kids, not always what the parent wants, because they don't know that academic piece. But if we had data that says this is better for your student, this is what we are.
And
yeah, I'm not sure we have data that says a 2,000 student elementary is better than for your kids.
Not
So
2,000.
That's my issue. is
It-
that
it-
it's
it's
not
bigger than the
clear.
license goes
So,
to bigger than the
But then,
license, they're gonna-
playing devil's advocate again, what she just said, we have to sell to the parent what's best for their kids.
Right.
But we also have to sell to the parent what's better for the pocketbook.
I think part of the
And
focus
as long
group,
as you stay out of this community, you will understand that.
I think part of the focus group process is to get that feedback, to say, okay, this is what we think we heard from the survey. So I think that, part of the focus group will be to follow up, to either affirm that that's what we heard, or to say, whoa, wait a minute, time out, we gotta talk about this.
Should we
or
not not
find
have
out
this
what
option
they'll
out there
do.
for them though, this additional option that's created up, or is that something we're just gonna just say, you're not interested in doing that?
A new shotgun, I want to
I think that's something we have to discuss. I think we have to discuss it.
Oh, yeah.
In the meeting tomorrow.
I mean,
Well, no, I think we have to
you
put it- I
concur
think
that
we-
this
yeah.
data that shows.
I think
that
there
it's
might be an
better for
evolution
I
of
think we
another option.
expected something to more that all of it anyways, that wasn't one of the options that you had. I think that was, after all the focus group, I think that was kind of.
So we need to drill down a little bit more into,
Yes.
do people really truly want one large high school, or, and knowing what the impact of that is, or are we okay with splitting the district in half and having two high schools? And then we need to drill down a little bit more into, do you really want 3 separate 6 to 800 student elementary schools in Salem, Harlan, Butlerville, Mainville, or do we want to keep every kid in the whole school district and have, because we don't have a site that could hold, that would be a brand new building, we don't have a site that can hold 2,000 K through 3s.
Yeah.
And the first question that you asked, according to the survey, that was one that was kind of
I was shocked.
relatively evenly split.
I was shocked when I saw
So
it.
there's a lot of unpacking to do there. The 6 to 800, that was really clear in the
That-
survey.
Correct.
And based on all the surveys that Troy has done, this was like, just such a surprise of how many folks in the community responded to this survey.
Right, and that
Yeah.
was great.
And
That
so
was great.
that's what was really great, is that we got a lot of community input already. And so some of these issues that are, up in the high 70s and 80s, that feels really good moving
Yes.
forward with that as a decision. The first question that you asked, that was relatively split. So that,
I was totally shocked. I think I know on which side of the fence I fall on. When I saw that slide, I could,
but that's why we felt really comfortable with the 6 to 800, because that was
Right.
a lot of
Well,
data.
we do have options that push those elementaries to 1,200, but that's well above what the,
Well, and I think,
Absolutely.
I think it's threefold in this. What we have to do is take what we have in front of us, and as a board, we have to look at it and continue to drill down and get community feedback on what they hear.
yes.
Then, our BAC group, let them look at the dollar sign and say, this is how big of a levy you're gonna have to ask for once we've got the numbers and we can hash that out. And then we're going to have to say, yes, we can sell that, or no, we can't. If we can sell it, we go for it. If we can't sell it, okay, what can we sell? And then begin to launch a plan towards that, because looking at this, and this is, I mean, in my mind, this is a great
Yeah, oh, yeah.
layout
What you've
for us to
done.
look at this.
Yes.
But being from the Harlan, I live in the Harlan-Butlerville
Yeah.
area. And, there's an old, I remember many years ago going to a company, and they have a thing called sacred cows, you don't touch the sacred cows, it's, so-and-so is such and such, the owner's daughter-in-law. She's a sacred cow, Butlerville Elementary, to the folks out there, is a sacred cow. And if we.
I understand that, there's just no.
I understand what you're saying, but what I'm saying is, if they walk to if they show up
Right,
at the ballot box and they vote no, then the rest of the plan is irrelevant.
right,
So that's what we have to figure that out.
right.
But that site is big enough for a 600 to 700.
Not the Butlerville, no, you can't fit any elementary on that site. The problem is there's so many amenities that elementary is currently missing.
So in order
that
to do
It doesn't have because it doesn't have the room.
so in order to
Still
do
better than Mara.
Correct, it is pretty, yes, it is about the same as Morrow.
Okay.
Yeah,
So in order to do a community elementary school of 600 to 800 students in Harlan, Butlerville,
We need a site.
we would have to
Yes.
find a site in Harlan.
We don't have 6 to 800 students that are gonna be in Butlerville. We couldn't fill 6 to 800 kids in
Put the
Butlerville.
entire
We don't
community
need
in.
that.
You don't have
Right
any
now,
people.
we own a
We're
very
pulling
large
them from
area just to
Massey
get
to
the
do
students we
one.
have at
Yeah,
Butlerville.
we could
Oh, no,
never
I agree.
fill that
I agree.
elementary. We don't
Okay,
need such a-
so then
Yeah.
Kids
if you were going to build a brand new elementary school on that site and not look at a separate site, could you put a 400 or 500 student elementary school there?
I don't think so. It's just, it's it's
What is
not
it,
even
4
a
acres?
6-acre site.
6 acres?
Yeah,
Okay.
to get the, just to get the playground, the parking, the separate bus drop-offs for parent drop-off.
So you're
And I
looking
think
at what the size
You
of
show
the
the,
Which is
house.
you
one of
show
the
the
two- I mean-
footprint, I mean, you've got the building sitting right out almost on the highway,
Yeah,
to
it's
try
on
to
the highway.
fit.
Right, so which is, the strategy I use with regards to the new elementary that goes in Butlerville, I believe in most cases that shows up in phase 2, not in phase 1. And the reason I did that is to give us time to see what enrollment and population does over the next 10 years, and you have time to say, it doesn't make sense to build a new elementary right there, we need to move it closer to.
Oh, okay, I misunderstood, because I was looking at this, and it had,
I,
how much, yeah, it had them offline.
I don't think any of the, well, because we have new buildings to replace it, yes,
Right.
it goes offline, but it doesn't, but a new building isn't built in its place in
Right.
phase 1.
Okay.
Because you're right, the population isn't there to populate a decent sized elementary, so let's wait a little bit and see where our population's going. And
Hopefully
then,
not our way.
and then answer that question in phase 2.
Randy doesn't want it.
Yeah.
I-
And
I
I
don't
live
want
in
neighbors.
It
That's
could
why I
be,
moved
it
out
could be
there.
that third
You're right.
PK through 2 elementary does not go right there. It could be
Mike
that
used
population
to live in
takes
that.
that itself.
Yeah.
Build up around it.
But for now, for the community, that's where we show that third elementary,
Okay.
if that makes.
So we have focus groups, or Melinda, I think we're January 23rd and January the 25th. And then that information will be shared at the community meeting tomorrow night. There'll be a way for them to sign up to participate tomorrow night, I believe, as well as to go online and sign up
Right.
to get a reserve a space.
23rd and 25th.
And I really like the amount of people that took the survey. I thought that was great. You know, it shows that people were engaged.
Yeah,
Can you tell what areas they were from?
we didn't ask that.
Yeah.
Totally, no.
Yeah, so it was just a blunt, what, did you use
Just
Survey
curious.
Monkey, or would you use?
Survey Monkey.
Did you use Survey Monkey? Okay.
You did ask them to identify themselves as parents or,
Yeah.
and I
Parents
think.
guardian or
could you-
80% of the respondents were parents.
And 20% were not.
Yes, and
Wow.
81% are between the ages of 30 and 49.
Because one of the things that we have seen out here, at least in the last several years, is that the communities do seem to be working better together overall. You know, there's not, there used to be animosity and there's that, and we want to make sure we don't reinstitute that. And for 20% non-parents being involved in that shows, and I know from the focus groups, I just kind of sat in and just watched, and the folks that were there that you knew did not have children in the district, or, you know, their children were grown, that was huge. You know, I mean, in the past, you normally only see, you know, we were talking about before on the Morrow Elementary, you know, and how many did you think will show up? And, you know, we went anywhere from 5 people to, you know, 500, who knows, you know, and then we had a pretty good turnout, so that was a good thing. And I think they're engaged, and they gave us the last bond levy by a very comfortable margin. And we would like to maintain that trust with them so that when we move forward, you know, we're not kind of gambling, we feel confident going forward that it's a plan that we can sell and that the people understand. And you guys have done a great job.
Oh, you have.
explaining
You really
it.
have.
I mean,
I don't sound like.
you know, I don't know if you guys have heard this, but I know I've
Appreciate
heard
it, I am, but-
an unbelievable amount of positive. Wow, we really, you know, we asked this question and they answered it, or if they didn't know and that was the one thing, because I think there were a couple questions in, and I don't know the answer to that. And they said, you know what, they didn't try to blow smoke, they just told you know what, I don't know, can't answer that. And we really appreciate that, we really do, because it maintains that trust with the community, so.
All right, so we still got a little bit of work to do on what some of the possibilities are with Morrow and what the costs might be.
We do.
I know what one of the options probably isn't. You made that pretty clear
I
tonight.
did, it just can't, I mean,
I
there's
got it.
just no way
Got
to keep that as a school.
Okay.
I mean, I just can't.
Or a bus garage.
I think,
Gene, but that one that goes down underneath that, we were thinking putting, you know, rails across there and you could use it like a grease pit.
honestly, seeing the RI what you recommend.
What are the possibilities
Right.
and the cost for those
And the cost for
possibilities?
those possibilities. That's right.
And we have to try to find some type of, in whatever plan we do, whether it's in phase one or phase two, probably in phase one, we have to find some kind of feasible central office space, some way.
Yes.
So that's true.
And we have, definitely having to address the transportation facility.
Correct.
Um,
We figured that option
So,
out though, Gene. so-
If,
Well, we're not gonna buy any more buses, did they really anything bigger?
yeah, I mean, because we have those numbers. I know how many buses you're gonna have
Right.
when you hit, to be
Mhm.
a 6,000 student district and a 7,500 student district. And where it currently sits is gonna get pretty tight.
And based on our, like you said before, the 100 square mile school district, we have problems that we'll have to deal with that most places will not, because we're such a large school district. And the transportation costs are much higher than they would be in a 30 square mile or what have you. And you're exactly right, we're going to have to do something there,
Right.
so.
And I'll tell you, related to the board office, we've kind of been digging around, searching, trying to see if we could find some lease space in the district. And I've got a call in down where Rivers Bend is. They have about 13,000 square feet of lease space down there. We're researching and trying to get a call back from them. Rivers Bend Health Center down on
Where the urgent care is.
where the
Oh,
urgent care
okay,
is.
okay.
By our contact.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're on.
So we just found that last week, and we're trying to recognize that
We don't have to.
that we're going to be,
You want to do it break better?
Your office is gonna be
going to
cheap.
Gotta do something.
We're gonna be with one.
That's in the district. It doesn't look like there's anything else available lease-wise in the district that's any kind of amount of square footage, but, I mean, we're gonna need to be clearing out, or we're gonna need to vacate the school.
Well, and that's the other thing, before we float a
So
bond.
what were you looking for that 13,000 square feet to?
Move board
house?
office staff
Okay.
temporarily while we,
Until we
over the next
figure out.
couple of years.
If we leave them in the buildings and say we need a new building, they're gonna go, you got all them people in there, why don't you just move them out? You know, and that'll be the answer.
Right.
I thought we needed to.
Right.
And even though I don't wanna
I mean,
put,
your
I
honest.
don't wanna put her next to Alpha Contact.
I'll be there.
Yeah.
I can get out of my car.
We'll be repaving the parking lot from where they wear it out, going back and forth.
Nancy's cubicle.
Yeah, Nancy's cubicle, I'll meet you at Alpha Contact.
My grandkids call it Nana's restaurant.
Okay.
Regarding the work session on the 14th, we don't have any community engagement pieces scheduled until January. Is there going to be a need to have that meeting on the 14th? Based off of where we are right now.
January 14th?
No,
In
we
December.
haven't-
We had
Or
a work session
December
scheduled
14th.
for December 14th.
That's right, that's
tentatively, in case there needed to be some further dialogue around the options.
My only thing would be, I'm not trying to kick the dead pony, but we were talking about having a staffing plan, that was one of the reasons we were
Well,
gonna.
we pushed it off to January.
I think we should use this meeting for the staffing plan and talk about
I was
it.
just
Well,
with the
we have to talk
budget
about
so
the
that we
budget,
can
yeah.
move forward.
You mean talk about the budget before
We
we
need
do
to talk,
the
I think, if we already have it scheduled, let's keep it so we can talk
Yeah, let's do
financials
that.
and we can move forward with the staffing plan, one way or the other.
Can we?
Yeah.
I think Terry probably has some feedback around.
Yeah. I'm wrapping up a lot of things. That's the only thing I'm trying to figure out. I'm wrapping up my cap
So you won't have any numbers for it?
for which part? So I'm not sure what we want.
Well, I think the first thing we have to look at, we have to discuss the budget.
Mhm.
Whether it's 4%, 5%, 6%, or whatever it is, we need to discuss that.
Mhm.
Once we know where we are there, then we can discuss the staff.
Well, I can make it 4, 5, 6, 7%. That's
Please
not a
do.
problem.
You know, if you can do that,
Just
and we can get
shows
together
to change the different
on the
populations.
14th, it will give us something to think about over
Yeah.
the holidays before we come back in January. Because Greg, you were planning on having staff presentation or proposal for the January meeting,
Right,
correct?
actually, I could
Yeah, I know you
have
could
it
do it
ready
earlier,
for
but I was just
December the
gonna say,
13th.
we could, well, yeah, but we're meeting the 14th.
So we are
Our
gonna meet on
regular
the
meeting is the 13th.
Right.
I mean, I
We are gonna
can
meet on the
with Fred.
14th.
Sorry, Mike?
We are gonna meet on the 14th.
Well, that's what our
I think we
normal
have a lot
board
to
reading.
discuss.
Yeah, our normal board meeting is the 13th.
Right.
So why don't we meet the 14th, discuss the budget, and let's get that hammered out.
So we meet on the 13th and the 14th.
Yep. And the enterprise zone is the other topic that we would need to cover.
Yes.
I guess I'm, like, can I throw this out to all of us, which is, do we wanna scratch the meeting on the 14th and do a work session before the board meeting on the 13th? So that we can hammer out budget and finance, so then we can
I
have
don't think
a,
we could get our schedule together.
okay,
Remember, we were talking about trying to get the schedule together before?
all right, then I would,
Everybody's schedules were up in the air.
I'm okay with that. With Tony's idea too. That's what we'll do.
you're okay with
13th, 14th?
You'd rather do back-to-back nights than do it all in one night?
No, it's hard,
It's harder to do what?
all in one night, but
Oh,
I'll do
okay.
whatever
That's
you
fine.
decide.
That's
No, it's fine. Let's leave it as is
We're
then.
scheduled for the 13th and 14th.
13th and 14th.
The bottom line is you don't need me.
No, you're not.
Right.
Or Chad, or
Or
Troy,
Troy,
right?
no.
You're right.
No.
You guys are free that
Do
night.
whatever you want, just don't
Yeah.
include me.
Yeah.
Um,
So
Yeah,
when
we want
is
to
it
talk about all the
gonna get
dollars
done?
we don't have before we get to your project, you know? But we do appreciate what you guys have done. You guys have done a fantastic job. And I do have a question. You mentioned separating the grades and so on and so forth on the, you used Princeton as an example.
Oh, yeah, the
Lockdown
middle
and
school,
so
high
forth,
school,
okay.
yeah, oh, yeah.
Do they ever have problems with the high schoolers and junior high, and high schoolers?
Nope,
No.
nope,
Okay.
nope. Then there's
Keep
a
them
little,
separated.
there's a little bit of opportunity for them to cross over.
But not much?
Just in like their music suite, that's in the core. But middle school has their own gym, high school has their own gym, the cafeteria has the operable divider that separates the two, so they only have one kitchen,
Right.
but the cafeteria is divided to them.
Okay.
One of the things that I had on my to-do list was to give you guys a tour of that facility at some point if you wanted it. And for me to just explain all of the different attributes and
At this point, I don't know, yeah, it'd be nice to see it, but right now, I don't know that we, once we
maybe after
figure
the
out.
holidays,
That sounds good.
we'll get a tour scheduled.
Have you guys worked with, or knows anyone who's worked with the, West Claremont School District who had two high schools for a long time? And then for whatever reason, I mean, for whatever their reasoning was, they chose to build one, they went the opposite direction. They went from split and then went to one
Right.
large. And I know that there's been a lot of conversation in Forest Hills for a long period of time about Turpin and Anderson.
Yep.
Yep.
And do you know anyone in those two areas where you might say, okay, what were some of the talking points? What were some of their thought processes for going from two back to one, or
Well, so Forest Hills refused to go back to one.
the community?
The community said, no, we like our two.
Two separate high schools, okay?
Because they wanted the smaller size and they wanted to maintain that. Northwest, I don't know, although we just submitted qualification packages, so if we get shortlisted and they hire us, I can answer your question.
Okay.
My guess is, so the difference that I see between, and I'm not totally familiar with Northwest, but when I
West
see
Claremont.
folks that,
West Claremont.
or West Claremont.
That's
I see
affiliated
folks
in,
consolidate from 2 to 1.
Yeah.
They are very set on their enrollment projections, and they are pretty well confined
Yeah,
and
they're
landlocked,
landlocked.
and know that one is gonna do the trick for the future.
Got it.
My concern is with you guys, there's no end in sight.
Yeah.
So at some point, it is, in my mind, it is inevitable unless, it would be huge. I mean, you have so much undeveloped property and you're so big in terms of square miles, that at some point, it's gonna be a forced decision. And then the question is, how hard is it gonna be to make that adjustment after you have such a huge one built to go to that second one? It will be very difficult. That's,
And
But it's very
to
hard.
the end of your phase two, in your projections, you have us somewhere in the 20,
the high school
Yeah.
size.
21 to
At the end of
2200.
phase 2, I need to look, but I'm guessing you're sitting at 2,500.
Okay.
I think it was 24.
20, somewhere around there. We're building it to be 2,100, but that's to be, that is for the middle of phase.
Yep.
Right, so that would be
we're building
opening
it for
capacity.
2030.
Okay.
But then after 2030, yes.
But, so then what happens is, if you have that size of, high school, then you realize you're still growing, then you need another one.
Then what size do you
What
do?
size? You have this little
You got a
community
small
one,
one and
and
a
then
big
it,
one?
right, and that's the.
You can't build another one the same size because it's gonna be empty, yep.
Exactly, so that's where it's easier to, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that's part of that education back to the community, to let them understand that, because, I mean, that's a nuance that nobody's going to even think
Well,
about.
and I mean, I think if you just look at, if you go really simple at this point, you say, okay, junior high was built to expand to 1,500, and the intermediate was built to expand to 1,500. When you look at that 4 grade level configuration, when you get to those size buildings and you have 1,500 in a 2 grade level building that's 5-6 and 1,500 in a 7-8 building, that's a 3,000 high school.
Right.
So, what do you do with that when you got a 1,500 high school?
Yeah, and then you have this building sitting there. Yeah. Yeah, that's all of that. Then the last thing I would throw out there is that right now, our enrollment projections are definitely on the conservative side. The reality is they could easily be more than 200 students a year. And that's something to keep in the back of your mind. When we look at the GIS data and we look at the sites that are developable in your district, we can easily be gaining more than 200 students a year.
And the Ford Road site, as it sits today, is not ideal for a high school
No,
site.
it's not. It's not.
At 44 acres.
It would be fine for an elementary, but at 44 acres, it's a small high school.
And also, when you just look at Greater Cincinnati, where's there to grow?
Yeah, they found it. They keep
They
coming back.
did.
Absolutely.
Oh, they're coming. I told them, I have 11 appointments with
Good
January.
stuff.
Anything out there, put trailers outside.
And
That'll stop them from moving in. That'll stop them from moving in.
And I also just want to thank you guys and thank your community too. I mean, that level of input.
Yeah, that was huge. I just remember that. Thank you.
Yeah. And even, I'll tell you, even tomorrow elementary, when you guys did the presentation, I got nothing but positive feedback from your presentation. It was great. Because when somebody bring it up, you start cringing inside. Oh, here it comes. And then they get real positive, and you're like, wow, I didn't see that
Well,
coming.
when you stick to the facts and you don't put in a lot of the emotion and there's not a lot to argue with.
That's true. That's it.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Be safe
Okay,
going
folks,
home.
I need a motion.
I'll be seeing you all again.
Mr. Nemish, I need a second for adjournment. All right, thank you, Mr. May. Roll call, please.
Okay, so you don't need to
Yes.
make any modifications to the presentation, so.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave that on 14, because Bobby's not here and she's.
Email you.